On a small Indonesian island, surrounded by jungle, there once lived a human species that stood just over 1 meter tall. Smaller than most 10-year-olds, a brain the size of a grapefruit. And yet, they made stone tools. They hunted animals 3 times their own size. They survived on that island for over 1 million years, and nobody knew they existed until 2003. The island is Flores, in eastern Indonesia. In September 2003, a team of Indonesian and Australian archaeologists were excavating Liang Bua, a large limestone cave on the western end of the island. Buried under nearly 6 meters of sediment, they found a skeleton, a complete skull, a jawbone, leg bones, a pelvis, the skeleton of an adult, but tiny. When they calculated the height, just over 1 meter. When they calculated the brain size, roughly 380 cubic centimeters, about a third of yours. They named the species Homo floresiensis, Flores man, but the world called them something else, the Hobbit. The discovery was immediately controversial. Some scientists insisted this couldn't be a separate species. It must be a modern human with a disease, maybe microcephaly, a condition that limits brain growth. The debate went on for years. Then in 2004, another skeleton was found. Then another, and another. Eventually, partial remains of at least 15 individuals, all with the same small body, the same small brain, the same distinctive features. This wasn't a sick individual. This was an entire population. So where did they come from? The current scientific consensus, confirmed by a 2024 study in Nature Communications, is that Homo floresiensis descended from an early population of Homo erectus that reached Flores at least 1.27 million years ago. And then something remarkable happened. They shrank, not because they were sickly or underdeveloped, but because of a well-documented phenomenon called insular dwarfism. When large animals become isolated on islands with limited food resources, evolution tends to scale them down over generations. It's happened to elephants, to hippos, to deer, and it happened, apparently, to us, or at least to one branch of us. A 2024 discovery made this even stranger. Researchers found fossils at a separate site on Flores, Mata Menge, dating back 700,000 years, including the smallest adult arm bone ever found in the human fossil record. When they calculated the body height from that arm bone, between 103 and 108 centimeters, even shorter than the hobbits found at Liang Bua, which means insular dwarfism happened fast. Within the first few 100,000 years of arriving on Flores, the ancestors of Homo floresiensis had already shrunk dramatically, and then they stayed small for another 700,000 years. Now here's the part that makes this story more impressive than it sounds. Homo floresiensis had a brain a third the size of yours, but they weren't helpless. The tools found alongside their remains are surprisingly sophisticated, sharp stone flakes, carefully crafted for specific tasks. And their primary prey was stegodon, a species of pygmy elephant that lived on Flores, an animal many times larger than they were. Think about that, a 1 meter tall human with a brain the size of a grapefruit hunting a pygmy elephant. That takes planning, coordination, communication. Whatever Homo floresiensis lacked in brain size, they made up for in ways we clearly don't fully understand yet. For almost 140,000 years, Homo floresiensis called Liang Bua home. And then, around 50,000 years ago, they vanished. For a long time, no one knew why. Then, in December 2025, a team led by Dr. Mike Gagan from the University of Wollongong published a study in Communications, Earth and Environment that finally offered an answer. They analyzed stalagmites inside Liang Bua Cave, natural climate archives that record centuries of rainfall as they grow. And they analyzed the fossil teeth of the stegodon pygmy elephants, tracking the isotopic signature of the water those animals drank. Both data sources told the same story. Around 76,000 years ago, Flores began to dry out, slowly at first. Then between 61,000 and 55,000 years ago, severe summer drought. Rainfall dropped to roughly half of modern levels. Riverbeds ran dry in summer. The stegodon population collapsed. And without their primary food source, Without reliable water, Homo floresiensis abandoned Liang Bua. But drought may not have been the only pressure. Around 50,000 years ago, the same time the Hobbits disappeared, Homo sapiens were spreading rapidly through the Indonesian archipelago. Dr. Gagan's team noted, as the Hobbits moved in search of water and prey, they may have encountered modern humans for the first time. And a volcanic eruption on Flores around 50,000 years ago added one final blow, blanketing parts of the island in ash. Drought, prey collapse, competition, volcanic eruption. Not one cause, a cascade of pressures on a small, already vulnerable population. Here's what I keep coming back to. Homo floresiensis survived on that island for over 1 million years. Through ice ages, through volcanic eruptions, through climate shifts. They built tools without large brains. They hunted prey without large bodies. They persisted without large populations. And then, in the span of a few thousand years, everything that had sustained them was gone. The water, the food, the stability, and so were they. The Liang Bua cave is still there. You can visit it today. The bones they found in 2003 are still being studied, still giving up new information. And somewhere on Flores, in sediment that hasn't been excavated yet, there are almost certainly more answers waiting. We've barely started looking. If you want more, subscribe and hit the bell. Don't miss what's coming next.